It should be we got to play something from there's the Schechter thing, there's the Fountain thing, there's the Wild thing, and then the fourth tweet down there is a little love fest for Nathan Wessenberg. You see that one? No. All right.
No, right now when I'm looking, I see. I just see
yellow jacket guy.
Yeah, that's the one I was. I see yellow jacket guy.
We'll get to yellow jacket guy in just a moment. Good to have you with us today. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Is it Cooligan? Do we have Cooligan back?
Yeah, we will have him on later on this afternoon.
Takes a vacation. What the hell is he thinking? All right, but yeah, well, all right. He's thinking the same way I thought. Anyway, he's going to be joining us here in just a moment or two. No, I've got to start off with what are two of the wackier, more fun clips that you're going to come across here in coming from the Minnesota Republican Party. But I want to first start by saying one thing. This weekend, I made a post where I said, I'm noticing a pattern in regards to Twitter trolls. And I'm not sure if this, it just seems like it was something that was, I don't think it was necessarily since Elon took over, but I've noticed it a lot more since Elon took over. And I think it's become a pattern. And here's the way it goes. A lot of people, but here's the pattern I'm noticing. I'll post something on Twitter. 4 to 8 hours later, the first troll responds. Usually they have between 100 and 500 followers. They say something stupid. I block them. Once again, they're coming to my timeline to get me attention from me, and they don't deserve it. Then the next troll responds almost immediately. 25 to 100 followers, though. They're even more belligerent than I blocked them. Then immediately comes the next troll, the third troll with like 5 to 10 followers. Even more belligerent than I blocked them. Then immediately comes the final one, a troll with like 0 to 2 followers, usually just swearing and insulting, furious, blockity, 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 block, block, block. When I look at the trolls' timelines before I block them, they're almost always posting the same exact retweets, almost the exact same ones. So it just seems to me what I was doing was I'm blocking someone who's the same person who has up these multiple accounts. And when I'm not paying attention to them, I'm not giving the boo-boo kitty their attention that they want, that they're blocking. I want to point out something else I've just noticed since I've been keeping track of this, and I'm just paying attention. And there are some days I really wish I could give up social media, but a lot of people like to connect that way, so it's what I'm here to do. I've noticed that there are generally 3 politicians. I'm not going to say which ones. Minnesota State Republicans. There are Minnesota politicians that the minute I allude to something they have done or I say something that upsets them, it seems to come from them. Now, I'm not saying that the troll is necessarily them, but I'm not saying it isn't. I don't know. I'm being very clear. I don't know if we have, Minnesota Republican senators and House members running troll accounts. It very likely could be a friend. It could be a supporter. It could be a staff member. I'm not sure. But there's a new pattern I'm starting to notice that when certain people get mentioned, I mention certain people on my timeline, that's when the trolls start to end. It's very specific into that same pattern. So and I'll get to this a little bit more. We talked yesterday about that case in, what was it, McCurtain County, Oklahoma, where these Republicans down there are taking it to clearly the next step where they're having private meetings to talk about, hiring hitmen to take out reporters, which is a little bit discerning. Yeah, a little scary. But I'm of the mindset that there might be something else going on here. Anyway, needless to say, would I put it past them? No. I know, and I've known some Democratic politicians that done that. I would say this, for God's sake, stop. I don't know what you think you can accomplish with a social media war, but it's it's basically, I mean, what it tells me is, because I just block people. I don't get into fights anymore. I used to try. I used to think that there were people out there that were just, they can't be this belligerent. They just must want to have a debate. And I realized, no, they're just that belligerent. And so I just block people because I've got more time. I've got better things to do with my time. Someone coming to my timeline and trying to scream at me, I don't need to give you attention. I'll just block you. And trust me, my life is better for it. My followers are better for it. Ta-da! Simple, easy, that way. But, it is interesting to see that, there is this kind of, seems to be this, I'm sensing an underbelly, an underbelly of frustration by the Republicans, where they are looking at, and maybe these are some things I'll talk about a little bit later on. I think they're frustrated about social media. I think because they feel like they're getting out organized on social media. That's why I think we got this war on Twitter, and we've got them trying to block TikTok now, because don't get me wrong. I'm not saying China's not getting our information, but I'm getting the impression China's getting our information one way or the other. So I don't know if that's necessarily, a surprise, but I will say this. I don't see them saying we need to stop Facebook in any capacity. And a lot of Republicans, especially because that's a social media site geared towards older people, or LinkedIn, that's where Republicans, I think, are trying to do more coordinating on those two sites. It's the other sites that they're starting to go after. And I've found that interesting. And then, like I said, you have this case down in McCurtain County, Oklahoma, which is 1,000 pounds of ugly. And we'll get into that a little bit more here. But the neurosis of modern day Republicans is amazing. So would I put it past? I'm not saying it is. I am not saying it is. I can't say for sure. I'm just noticing a pattern that when certain Republicans, I bring them up on my social media timelines, suddenly there's a flurry of troll activity, which is, pretty, I think I might be onto a pattern here. I'll keep track of it more. Now, that being said, we're going to play two clips here for you that are just beautiful. Beautiful in the sense being that, with all the things that are affecting us as a society, it is amazing that we're having to deal with this. First up is, let's go. This is Yellow Jacket Guy, or as we know him, Senator Eric Lucero. This is how about 20 seconds? 20 seconds of 16 seconds of pure joy that you're going to get from the Senate debate yesterday, where they're kind of, I guess, well, I don't know what the hell they're going after. Whenever you get the chance, Patrick, go right ahead.
Sin is real. Sin, S-I-N, is real. Sin is evil. Sin can exist in any institution. And we need to work hard as the Minnesota Senate to protect our young, vulnerable children's minds against these terrible, wicked, evil practices. And unfortunately,
okay, you're on my likes. Go to my profile page. Go to the timeline profile page. All right. But you're getting a taste of it. If you just go to my main profile page, let's go to Yellow Jacket there. Eric Lucero, which, by the way, Yellow Jacket is just such a great term for him. Do you have the Yellow Jacket post? Go ahead and play this 16 seconds.
Pictures, plays, theater, sculptures, or any other type of art to be used to channel the occult.
If you can, could you play that one more time?
I do not want pictures, plays, theater, sculptures,
okay,
or any other type of art to be used to channel the occult.
Okay. All right. You heard it here first. I don't know. That ag bill sounds like it's a freaking hoot, man. What is going on? Is he again? I mean, are you against like Lord of the Rings? I mean, because it's just young Senator Saruman there, folks, talking about stay away from those orbs. Those orbs, man. He can see into your soul. Just ask those hobbits, man. They see right into your soul. If you scroll up a little bit higher on there, you come to Duck Dynasty himself, the Jug Band, as we like to call him. That is Wessenberg. He's just an absolute hoot too. When you get the chance, go ahead and play. This is once again. This is Senator Wessenberg. This is a guy up from Little Falls who's got this beard that is it just with the receding hairline on the top. It's I'm not sure the Rutherford B. Hayes works as much as you think it does. But here is State Senator Nathan Wessenberg as well, chiming in, I guess, on some bill today or yesterday.
I talked to my sheriff and other sheriffs about some of the drag shows that have been going on. And they said that, and when I showed them the videos of the ones that happened in Duluth and Minneapolis, there were drag queens accepting money from minors. Now, I've called 911 and I have reported this as child abuse. And if that were to happen in my county, they would go and do that. So we cannot be accepting, drag queens cannot be accepting money from minors. It's on video. That's disgusting and wrong and immoral, and we could go on down the list. So if this money is going to that, we can't accept that. And I would encourage anyone that sees that behavior to also report that behavior. Thank you.
So first of all, I want to point out something here. Wessenberg mentions a video, which is, he says is from either Duluth or Minneapolis, St. Paul, which is a little bit of a, you think you would narrow it down between the 100 miles or so between the two metro areas. But still, he says it's one of the two that he has seen where there was a drag show where kids are giving money to drag performers, which is, the implication is that it's some sort of strip show, Ozark strip club situation where he says drag queens are, I guess, doing a strip tease and 6 and 7 year olds are putting money into their G-strings or something. That's the impression, at least, I think he's trying to put forward here. But I can't find the video. And you'd think that if this video did exist of this drag show in Duluth or Minneapolis, St. Paul, it did exist, that it would be pretty much everywhere. And I couldn't find it anywhere. I was looking around saying, okay, where is this so-called event? To which, and I want to make sure we say right away, there are a lot of people out there who are saying, they're doing it's a strip show. Now, I had, when my kids were younger, we went to a drag queen story hour. Now, it wasn't in a strip club. It was in a library. That's where they have the books. I know, Republicans, a book. That is it's a square thing, not like your phone. It's paper. Never mind. Someone will have to explain that to you later, or kind of get you ready for, they'll just tell you to ban something and that's where you go with it. Anyway, it was in a library. They read kids' books. They didn't strut or anything. They sat in a chair and read the story for the kids, and the kids applauded, and there was no money interchanged. It was quite cute, adorable, and a hoot. So I'm not quite sure what this guy is thinking he saw, but, the fact that he's apparently, out there searching for drag queen strip shows, I guess. I don't know what he's looking for, but I don't mean to judge. I mean, I think everyone should experience their own, find their own true self and their sexuality. I mean, I'm just saying who it is. I mean, whatever you like. I will say, it is amazing to me the way that the Republicans in this state particularly are desperately trying to turn this into some sort of child abuse issue when we just had a guilty verdict against Tony Lazzaro, a senior influencer and, if I can call it, BFF to the former head of the Minnesota GOP, who was just found guilty of trafficking young girls in the state of Minnesota. 15 and 16-year-old girls. That is a real threat. That's not some mysterious video. That's not something that's going. I'm not quite sure what you think that is, but that is the trouble. And funny. And then we have, what is it, Matt Schlapp, the guy from CPAC, has apparently got problems. Now there's another Republican. As they sit there and they try hard to turn Drag Queen Story Hour into some sort of child assault, the reality is the calls coming within the own Republican institution. We have another high-level Republican who apparently has been getting in touch with kids. I'll talk about that when we do return. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. We'll take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950. Consumer Reports published their 2023 Best Vehicles Report, and Toyotas from Rudy Luther Toyota dominate the list again. The Corolla Hybrid, the Corolla Cross, and the Camry all top their best value new cars categories. The Camry Hybrid, the Highlander Hybrid, the Corolla Hybrid, and RAV4 Prime all ranked as best green choices, and my personal favorite, the Toyota Sienna, also ranked in the top of its class. Toyotas are not only gorgeous, they're best buys. Test drive one today by going to Rudy Luther Toyota, 5 miles west of Minneapolis on 394.
Eat Local Minnesota is a great way to find locally owned Minnesota restaurants and food purveyors. You'll find high-quality food and unique eating experiences with dishes from around the world. Just visit eatlocalminnesota.com for your next meal. Bruner Supper Club invites you to Maggie's Lounge, an exciting new bar lounge. It's open Wednesdays through Sundays beginning at 4:30 for cocktails and light fare. And you don't need a ticket to enjoy the great atmosphere of Maggie's. So stop by Crooner Supper Club off Moore Lake and Highway 65 for dinner, drinks, and live music from both big-name local and national artists. Cafe Latte combines a cafe dining experience with gourmet quality food. Plus, you can still do online ordering and takeout along with gift cards. Just go to cafelatte.com and choose from their ever-changing selection of award-winning salads, sandwiches, and soups. Cafe Latte is located off Victoria and Grand and online at cafelatte.com.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067, or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205 is the phone number. Once again, it is amazing. Here are the Republicans on the Senate floor trying desperately to turn drag queens into some sort of child endangerment. As at the same time, we have another breaking story of a senior Republican official, or I shouldn't say official, influencer, maybe is the better term, who has some explaining to do. A key figure in the pro-Trump Stop the Steal campaign has apologized after being accused of asking teenage boys for sexual pictures. Once again, not a drag queen story hour. This would be Ali Alexander, who became one of the most ubiquitous figures in the MAGA movement. Trump himself reportedly requested that Alexander speak at the rally before the riot, with his appearance only quashed by the last-minute intervention from Trump's aides. But this week, Alexander stands at the center of a scandal that raises questions about how powerful men in the far right treat their younger acolytes. This is too gay, said Alexander in a statement issued Friday night that addressed the allegations in broad terms. Alexander, who has described himself as bisexual in the past, added that he's battling with same-sex attraction. Okay, if you're bisexual, that means you like both sides, and that's perfectly fine. You're not, if you can't. This is what's happened is you've got an image you're trying to portray. You're trying to portray that you're the party of heterosexual man and whatever. And now all of a sudden this story comes on out, And even though you might have been honest with people at one point about your sexuality, which is great, the reality is now you've realized, oh, this is not good. I still like the power that I get within the party. So now I'm battling same-sex attraction. All right. The budding online scandal was also roiled by Troy Pump and white supremacist America First movement just months after it reached new lows with notoriety with its leader, Nick Fuentes, dined with Donald Trump and rapper Kanye West at Mar-a-Lago. Now Fuentes is facing backlash from his own supporters on whether he ignored warnings that Alexander, his friend and ally, was allegedly soliciting nude pictures from young men within Fuentes' movement. Friday night, Alexander, who was questioned by the House January 6th committee about his role organizing and canceled rally dubbed the Wild Protest outside the Capitol, which drew crowds to the building right before the riot began, issued a statement Friday offering a general apology. I apologize for any inappropriate messages sent over the years, Alexander wrote, adding later, when I flirted or others have flirted with me, I've flexed my credentials or dropped corny pickup lines. Other times, I've been careless and I should have qualified those coming up to me's identities during flirtatious banter at the start. Alexander didn't respond to requests for comment from the Daily Beast. In his statement, he claimed he had also been targeted by false accusations and edited screenshots of his messages, but declined opportunity to point out which accusers of screenshots were not illegitimate. Rumors about Alexander's alleged sexual behavior towards younger men have circulated in conservative circles since at least 2015, when they reached a new level late last month when Milo Yiannopoulos, the controversial British provocateur and one-time Alexander ally, turned on Alexander after Alexander and Fuentes pushed him out of a potentially lucrative position within West's presidential campaign. Yiannopoulos started releasing video interviews with other evidence meant to prove that Alexander sexually propositioned both adult men in their 20s and at least 2 teenagers. Yiannopoulos, whose own career as a far-right pundit imploded in 2017 after remarks he had made downplayed the seriousness of pedophilia, surfaced, claims he has more damaging videos to release about Alexander and Fuentes. Yiannopoulos claims he's releasing the videos against Alexander because Alexander dropped Yiannopoulos' name to entice young men. One screenshot purports to show Alexander dangling the prospect of meeting Yiannopoulos to a teenage boy. The reason I'm doing this is because he used my name. In 2017, Adian Duncan, a 15-year-old boy in Colorado interested in right-wing politics, sent Alexander nude photos after the MAGA activist asked him for them, according to an account Duncan gave in a March 2023 podcast appearance. While Duncan was a high school sophomore just starting out in politics, Alexander at the time was a 32-year-old with a decade of political work for the Republican Party behind him. And now he was willing to share the connections he had gained through the work that Duncan, as long as the teenager met certain preconditions, including secrecy. You have me sharing my entire network with you, Alexander told Duncan during his Snapchat screenshots viewed by the Daily Beast. Originally from Dallas, Alexander pleaded guilty to felony property theft in 2007, felony credit card abuse in 2008. By the way, how many Republicans today do you see that they started off with petty crimes? I mean, my God, I mean, it's, bouncing checks or defrauding people. I mean, it's amazing how many Republicans actually have a rap sheet in their background before they became politicians. It is amazing. Despite his criminal background, Alexander, who was then using his legal name, Ali Akbar, managed to rise to the GOP during the online conservative backlash to the Obama administration, leveraging his position, writing for blogs with names like Hip Hop Republican. Alexander received funding from billionaire conservative mega donor Robert Mercer, organized a national club for bloggers that later faced questions about how Alexander spent the money he raised, and hosted an annual party at the Conservative Political Action Conference. By 2017, Alexander, and by the way, now we're starting to get everyone kind of connected there with the CPAC stuff. There is something ugly going on within the Republican Party. Let's just be honest about it. There is some real ugly. And once again, I don't hear too many Republicans calling this out. Alexander has become an ardent Trump supporter with a passion for social media trash talk. He became a protege of MAGA figures like Stone and InfoWars chief Alex Jones, and ran with a group of other young MAGA internet provocateurs, including anti-Muslim activist Laura Loomer and blundering smear artist Jacob Wall. But his messages to Duncan, according to the screenshots, there was one name Alexander dangled as a perk for the teenager if he kept contact with Alexander, Milo Yiannopoulos. In a September 4th, 2017 exchange about the upcoming trip Alexander was planning, Alexander purportedly told Duncan he would introduce the teenager to Yiannopoulos and speculate about whether the boy would be Alexander's arm candy and suggested the boy would have to be entertaining. Rolling with me, Alexander wrote, according to the messages. Mostly I have an entourage. Depends. Depends. If it's me babysitting you during the day, then no, I don't have kids. If it's something more entertaining, then maybe. All depends on what we're up to. No matter what, I'll let you meet Milo. There's probably 5 people I'll introduce him, but who will be my arm candy, the one that's always with me? Oh, man, this is clear grooming stuff. The conversation on Snapchat goes on to say arm candy is greater than babysitting. Yikes. So we have the guy that ran CPAC. Matt, is that Matt Schlapp? Do you remember? Is that that's his name, Matt Schlapp? You have Lazaro, and now you have Alexander. And this is going on. And these are grown adult men propositioning underage kids. Well, I'm not sure about Schlapp. I can't say that for sure. I have to refamiliarize myself with this case. But with Lazaro and Alexander, it's clearly the case. And they seem to very much be looking for underage children. While we have Senator Lazaro and Senator Wessenberg sitting there trying to turn drag shows into something that they are not, because they want to basically try to make people angry within their own community because they've done nothing to help them. Republicans have been in charge of some of these Republican areas for 40 years, and they have not done a damn thing to help those people. So now all they can do is try to scare them into voting for them. While at the same time, the real threat to children today seems to be Republican influencers. And it's not just a theory. I don't have to allude to mysterious videos which don't seem to exist. I can just point to, hell, here's the evidence. It's if the Republicans keep going down this path, I think, we have to keep, throwing at them. I would hope, and I have no problem saying this, I would hope that all the journalists would show the same intent as Peter Callahan from MinnPost showed against the DFL, against these Republicans who keep going out there and attacking drag queens and LGBTQ community. I would hope they would have the same intensity when they question them about the fact that the real threat to our kids today seems to be Republican influencers. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. We'll take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
This is Ross Stadheim, partner at MJSB Employment Justice. At our firm, we specialize in cases where our clients tried to do the right thing by reporting illegal or unethical conduct and were demoted or fired. There are laws in place that protect people like you who tried to do the right thing by reporting a problem but were retaliated against. At MJSB Employment Justice, we are fearless advocates who will protect your rights and obtain justice, whether it be a Fortune 500 company or something smaller.
Be heard. You deserve better. Contact us today at mjsbjustice.com. Hi, I'm Kelly Tanky.
And I'm Joe Kirk.
Tune in to AM 950's newest show, Searching for Service, a show designed to help current and future Rotarians find purpose through service.
We are dedicated to sharing stories, experiences, and opportunities for those searching for purpose, value, and meaning.
But more importantly, connection through community. Tune in Sundays at 3 p.m. or anytime via podcasts.
It's time to stop searching and start serving.
Hey, it's Tom. Going solar is a great way to save on energy costs. By using the sun to power your house, you can feel good about an investment that will last for years. All Energy Solar is a locally trusted turnkey solar installer that's been around since 2009. They provide custom designs and quality installations of solar panel systems that work for your energy needs. One of the best parts about going solar is it's an investment that can pay for itself. Your system can pay back 100% of the installation cost in as little as 8 years. Plus, a system from All Energy Solar can pay back over 300% of its cost over its lifetime. There's also many tax incentives and rebates available, and the experts at All Energy Solar can walk you through the entire process to make sure you're saving as much as possible. So go green, both financially and environmentally, with All Energy Solar. Get a free, no-obligation assessment from All Energy Solar by calling 800-620-3370 or visiting allenergysolar.com.
Hi, I'm Scott Shambot from Shambot Family Dentistry. We're the fear-free, shame-free dental office. We know dental anxiety and dental phobia are real. We'll take the time to get to know you and give you what you need to be comfortable at all times. We offer free nitrous oxide laughing gas and have high-tech options to help you feel calm and relaxed during your appointments. We'll help you get through every appointment in the most pain-free way possible. If you're having a dental emergency, we'll try and get you in the same day you call because we don't like to see anyone in pain. As my daughter Rachel says,
if you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been going to Shambot Family Dentistry for years. They get me in last minute when I'm in pain and make regular checkups easy and comfortable.
Shambot Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblotfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
Nightingale is your cozy, comfortable neighborhood restaurant in the Whittier neighborhood at 26th and Lindale. Nightingale has patio, dining room, and bar seating available. Plus, they still have takeout and delivery. Their menu has lots of delicious options like the famous Nightingale burger and fries, ginger tamari chicken wings, smoked chicken liver pate, and more. They're open from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. daily with their full menu until midnight. So make the friendly neighborhood Nightingale your go-to restaurant in South Minneapolis. Place an order, make a reservation, and more at nightingalempls.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 54, tonight cloudy with a low around 38, and Wednesday rain with a high around 49. Scotch Mama's offers huge taste out of a little place. They offer mouth-watering baby back ribs, grilled chicken, and half-pound pulled pork sandwiches. Located at 3 West Diamond Lake Road near the intersection of Nicollet Avenue and West Diamond Lake Road in Minneapolis. Find their winter hours and full menu at scotchamamas.com.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Breaking news. Now, I'll say I kept trying to pay attention to the Fox News defamation trial today, where Dominion basically had them, the voting machine company was suing them for $1.6 billion. You could tell Fox in the last 2 days. So the trial was supposed to start yesterday. They pushed it to today. I kept checking. They did not come to an agreement yesterday. I kept coming to the point where I was looking at the news, and right before opening arguments, so the jury had been set right before opening arguments. It sounds like Fox News begged Dominion to talk with them right before opening arguments. So they cleared the courtroom. They were gone for a while, and now we know there has indeed been a settlement. The judge in the Fox News defamation case said on Tuesday the case was resolved, abruptly ending a long-running dispute. It was a last-minute end of the case, because I can tell you right now, Fox did not want to have to go to this trial. And so, to a point, I got to be honest with you, I think that they're going to get $787 million. I want to stop for a second. They're going to get over $750 million. That's insane. That is, as a settlement goes, Fox News is basically, and a reminder, Fox News has another lawsuit against another company. And people have said that lawsuit's actually even more airtight than this one is. The last minute deal ended the case that began 2 years ago, and after the disclosure of hundreds of thousands of pages of documents that peel back the curtain on the media company that's long resisted outside scrutiny. The settlement included a $787.5 million payment from Fox, according to Justin Nelson, a lawyer for Dominion. The truth matters. Lies have consequences. He said over 2 years ago, a torrent of lies swept Dominion election officials across country into an alternative universe of conspiracy theories, causing grievous harm to Dominion and the country. Dominion had originally sought $1.6 billion in damages. Fox Corporation said in a statement, "We fully acknowledge the court's rulings finding certain claims about Dominion to be false." It added, "We are hopeful that our decision to resolve the dispute with Dominion amicably instead of the acrimony of a divisive trial allows the country to move forward on these issues." The agreement was reached a few hours after the jury in William, Delaware was selected. Just as opening statements were expected to begin, lawyers from both sides had been preparing to make their cases to the judge, their microphones clipped on their lapels. The sudden settlement means no high-profile Fox figures, including those who privately expressed concerns about the veracity of claims being made on its shows, will have to testify. I mean, Fox was terrified of that, of having every network in the country basically airing their own hosts saying, oh, yeah, we knew we were lying to the American people. They were terrified of that. And it shows. I mean, that's pretty amazing amount of money. The members who are expected to be called for testimony were Rupert Murdoch, Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, and Maria Bartiromo. It was the latest extraordinarily twist in the case that has promised to be one of the most consequential against the media organization in a generation. The trial had been expected to be a major test for First Amendment, raising questions about whether defamation law adequately protects victims of misinformation campaigns. While the settlement avoids a lengthy trial, it still results in a rare instance of accountability for attempts to delegitimize President Biden's victory. Few people or organizations have faced legal ramifications for claims related to electoral fraud that are being brought by former President Trump or his supporters. Dominion sued Fox in early 2021, arguing that its reputation was badly damaged when Fox repeatedly aired falsehoods about the voting machines. Fox denied wrongdoing, saying that they had merely reported on newsworthy allegations that were coming from Trump. Judge Eric Davis had previously ruled that statements Fox had aired about Dominion were false and functionally limited some of his potential defenses by deciding that his lawyers could not argue that the broadcast false information on the basis of the allegations were newsworthy. So you can't knowingly broadcast something that's a lie and say, well, it was newsworthy. You can't do that. At trial, a jury would have been asked whether answering the question of whether Fox had acted with actual malice or legal standing, meaning it had knowingly broadcast lies and recklessly disregarded obvious and evidence that the statements were untrue. So there is quite a bit there. How much is $787.5 million for Fox? I'm going to go. This is through the New York Times live stream. A recent corporate filing showed that Fox's corporation had about $4.1 billion of cash and cash equivalents on hand at the end of last year. Now, a reminder, they've got another major trial coming up here. They basically are losing a fifth of that money right now. So, and that's a pretty big hit. The $787.5 million payment cited by Dominion expresses roughly half of the $1.6 billion the company initially asked for. Fox is still facing a similar defamation suit from the other plaintiff involved in voting technology, Smartmatic. A Smartmatic spokesman said it is in statement Dominion's litigation exposed some of the misconduct and damage caused by Fox disinformation. Smartmatic will expose the rest. Dominion's chief executive, John Poulos, called the settlement historic. Fox has admitted to telling lies about Dominion. He said, but the Dominion legal team didn't answer questions. Fox will issue a public apology. A quick take from a veteran First Amendment lawyer, Martin Garbus. With the settlement, everyone wins. Fox goes its way. Dominion gets cash. Well, I don't think Fox necessarily wins. I think outside of the people I even think a lot of Fox viewers are going to be like pretty skeptical of the network. Moderate Fox viewers probably are going to walk away and say, okay, yeah, I don't know if I can trust them. The more fervent ones will say, well, I'll just go to OAN and Newsmax. And so I don't know if that necessarily is the case. One of the Dominion's lawyers, Stephen Shackelford, said the settlement with Fox isn't the end of efforts to push back against disinformation about the company. We're not done yet. We have some other people who have some accountability coming toward them. The settlement includes $787.5 million. Some critics of Fox News have hoped the network would be put through the grueling 6-week trial with its host forced to answer direct questions, but the result shouldn't be a surprise. The vast majority of liable cases settle before trial in this case. I mean, let's face it. They're offering $750 million. They're freely giving that. Now, I will say the legal people I know have basically said that Dominion had them dead to rights. and that Dominion was not going, could have asked for anything, because at the end of the day, they were going to get it. But at the end, I don't think the money was the problem for Fox. I think it was the last thing they want is Tucker Carlson. It's the ads that CNN and MSNBC and themselves would air off of Tucker Carlson having to admit, yep, we knew it was all lies. Or Tucker Carlson having to admit, no, I hated President Trump on the stand. Oh, God, that would have been delicious. Or Rupert Murdoch, who insists I don't have any hands-on control, having to come back and explain how basically there was plenty of evidence that he did have hands-on control of Fox News. And I mean, Bartiromo, God, I mean, like I said, I love the headline. You can't use the insanity defense in a defamation case. And Bartiromo would have just been an absolute nightmare for them, because unless she would literally walk into the courtroom and said, I was a stupid idiot. I was a stupid idiot. I was a stupid idiot. There's just no way. And even with that, there still was enough evidence that Fox News still knew that she was lying and didn't care. So I know a lot of people wanted to watch Perp Walks. They wanted to watch this. But when I saw this morning, I was actually kind of surprised yesterday, which I'm going to guess Fox News was lowballing them and stuff. I'm going to guess the hitch point was the public admission of guilt, of wrong. It's going to be interesting to see if Fox News has to air something which says we were wrong about Dominion. We apologize to any problems there, and do that. From what I've understood, that was where a lot of the negotiations were, that the money wasn't the problem. It was the having to admit we were wrong and we made a mistake. And yeah. And Dominion was in complete control of a lot of that. So 952-946-6205. Dynamo Dave wanted to chime in. He's been holding forever. Welcome on in, Dave.
Hello, miraculous McNeil. Sorry.
Hello.
Fumbling on my words. Hey, man. Happy Scottish American Heritage Month to you and your listeners.
Yeah.
And Patrick, too.
Well, thank you.
By the way, so, and as you well know, there's Scottish people wear dresses, or at least skirts, right? Some men
kilt.
do.
That's called the kilt, yes.
Sean Connery being one of them. They sell them at the Mega Mall. And you got that Republican guy who's worried about money going to these transvestites. It's like, wait a minute, who cares what people are wearing? They don't want to pay for school lunches. They're not really concerned about the well-being of our children. They don't want to pay for the school lunches. They don't want to pay for or ban assault weapons and that sort of thing, which is the safety of our children. And so it's kind of like they don't truly care about the well-being of children. This is just a ruse of that whole thing.
Well, no, and Dave, thank you very much. They don't care about your kids. Okay. Republicans, they like to get their earnest face out there. We care about babies. No, they don't. The second the baby takes the uterus highway out, they don't care about that kid anymore. And as a matter of fact, I've always kind of wondered, how is it we haven't had a viable lawsuit against a state that has prevented a person from having to abortion, to basically saying, well, then you basically forced me to have a kid, so henceforth you are somewhat culpable for the upbringing of this child. And you see, Republicans, they have their talking points and that's it. That's why this whole thing with the idea of they're trying desperately to ignore the litany of Republican influencers who seem to be threats to children in this country, while at the same time trying to turn I mean, I just had one right now where some idiot basically said, "You're supporting pedophilia." No, I'm not. That's an outright lie. And if I ever find out who it is, damn right I'm going to sue him. You can't make. I'm not doing that, and yeah, I will sue you, and I will. That is you are saying things that are just not true, because this is all you have. This is your standard Republican today. That's it. That is all they have. They can't campaign on making your lives better, increasing wages, making healthcare affordable, making education better. They can't do it on anything. And so what they have to do, and they've lost now, and once again, a lot of Republican circles are terrified of the fallout of the abortion, that this could actually be a long-term major hit against them in campaigns, and they don't know what to do about it. So what they're trying to do now is they're taking, drag queen story hours and trying to turn them into something they're not. I have zero doubt in my mind the way that the modern Republican, zealot thinks that at some point there's going to be, someone's going to storm into one of these buildings, and just like, what was it, Comet Pizza in Washington or Baltimore, where Republicans kept saying, well, in the basement of the Comet Pizza in Baltimore, their Democrats are killing babies and drinking their blood. So some guy comes in there and starts firing off rounds and says, I need to get to the basement. And they look at him saying, there is no basement to this building. And he says, yeah, there is. And they say, no, there's not. And he says, okay, I was told there was a basement here. Well, there's no basement. There's no basement to this building. And then all of a sudden, all those same people that were saying this was, well, I never said that was happening. I just heard the story about it. I didn't say it was, because I couldn't get away from it fast enough. That's the unfortunate part here. It's the same thing as the kid that was shot in Kansas City. It's the same thing as the girl that was shot out in New York. You've created this fear. You've created this anger in America because it's the only thing you've got. And someone's going to go do something horrible. And instead of dealing with the clear threat to children that exists within the Republican influencer crowd, you're out there vilifying people just because you have nothing else. That's all you have. And when someone does go into a drag queen story hour at a library and kills 4 kids and 2 adults, you're going to be one saying, well, I was upset about it, but when I was saying that this is, they're just trying to kidnap kids, I didn't mean they were trying to kidnap kids. I don't know why someone would go shoot the place up. And of course, then you'll still have some Republicans who are saying the real hero was the gunman. Seriously. Because this is where they're at. If that's what you want, good luck with all that. But the reality is that you're broken people. That's all you are. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. We'll take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Get ready for a springtime adventure like no other. The St. Paul Art Collective is thrilled to announce the return of the St. Paul Art Crawl. This iconic event spans over 4 weekends from April 14th to May 7th. The St. Paul Art Crawl features over 200 talented artists across 10 unique art districts in St. Paul. This year's Art Crawl promises to be bigger and better than ever before, with even more artists showcasing their incredible work. Explore the city's vibrant neighborhoods and let your creativity run wild as you discover the unique visions of each artist. Immerse yourself in a world of art and culture that is sure to inspire and amaze. Not only will you have the opportunity to witness some of the most incredible art the Twin Cities has to offer, but you can also help ensure the best experience for both artists and visitors by making a donation. So wander the St. Paul Art Crawl and discover the wonder of it all. That's 4 unforgettable weekends spanning April 14th through May 7th. For more information about the Spring Art Crawl and how to donate, visit stpaulartcollective.org.
Are your remote workers putting your company at risk? Not sure what steps to take to secure your data? Hi, Mark Sommerfeld from Rymark. The Rymark team is guiding our clients through these difficult times. In fact, demand has been so high, we created an easy-to-follow guide with the 5 steps to securely work from home. It's yours free. Download our 5 steps to securely work from home now at rymarkit.com or call 651-328-8900 for a no-cost how-to discussion.
The Mary T family of companies serves seniors and people with a wide range of disabilities. We provide home health care, hospice services, and accessible rental housing. This is Mary T, and we'd like you to join us. We're hiring direct care professionals, CNAs, nurses, and other support services. Our mission is to provide quality, personalized services to meet the unique and evolving needs of the people that we serve. Join a Minnesota family-owned company that was founded on a history of care. Apply today at marytinc.com/careers.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. By the way, thank you very much to Todd Collett for sponsoring AM 950 this week. Todd is an American, lives over in Spain. He helps support the station. We're very grateful. 952-946-8885. 952-946-8885 if you'd like more information about that. I will say he is a big supporter of Lifeline Ukraine, as I am as well. And we're actually going to work on trying to get Paul Nyland on the air. He's the head of Lifeline Ukraine. Lifeline Ukraine offers mental health and suicide prevention services for the people of Ukraine, not only the people there, not only the people fighting the Russians, but as well anyone who has been from Ukraine but has left to escape the attack from the evil Russians. Well, they're offering the services of saints. That's what they're doing. So if you can, go to lifelineukraine.com. I'll put a link up on social media. Lifeline Ukraine, make a donation, help them out. Once again, mental health and suicide prevention services. It's what they need out there right now. And if you can help, please do. LifelineUkraine.org. And by the way, someone said to me, it's like, well, I went there and the page is in Russian or the Ukrainian. And I said, well, go up to the upper right. There's a tab there. If you click on it, it says English. Click on that and you'll see the English version of it. Okay, there you go. 952-946-6205. More proof that the Republicans don't care. I mean, Wisconsin has been run by Republicans now pretty much since 2010. When they basically took over that state and have basically ruined it. According to the 2022 National Assessment for Education Progress Report card, 67.4% of fourth grade students in Wisconsin failed to test at proficient or above in reading. Almost 70%. Similarly, about 67.6% of eighth grade students are not proficient or above in reading. God, I remember Wisconsin and Minnesota used to go 1 and 2. Maybe Vermont was in there every once in a while, or Washington State, but we used to go 1 or 2 in education. And God, Wisconsin has just fallen off the freaking map. And, you know, it's because Republicans. Republicans are horrible at leading. They don't make your life better. They don't do anything. They're only there for to make sure millionaires and billionaires get tax cuts, and everything else is some sort of ideological social war where you have to get people screaming at each other, because as they're screaming at each other, they won't realize the Republicans haven't done jack or squat for the American people. I mean, how many Republicans still today insist they were an integral part of the infrastructure bill they all voted against? Oh yeah, I voted against it, but you know, thanks to me, that funding for the refinishing of the airports, that was on me. No, it wasn't. You voted against the bill. You cannot take credit for a bill you voted against. They are an empty party, and frankly, it kind of is a little scary where they're going, because I think that this is probably not going to end well. I'll talk more about that when we come back. Hour 2, that's up next.
Hi, this is Ken Hakeland, host of Living Healthy and Aging Well, inviting you to listen to our live call-in talk show airing every Saturday from noon to 1, where we talk about your health and your life and provide insights you need to know to live and age well. Each week, we talk with guests who provide answers to important questions regarding healthcare, elder care, end-of-life care, and self-care for caregivers, and help you and your loved ones plan for the future and enjoy your highest quality of life today. Please join us every Saturday from noon to 1 on AM 950 for Living Healthy and Aging Well.
Don't drive too fast or you will miss Scott Jamama's Hot Barbecue. Scott Jamama's offers huge taste out of a little place. Located at 3 West Diamond Lake Road near the intersection of Nicollet Avenue and West Diamond Lake Road in Minneapolis, this tiny hole in the wall offers mouth-watering baby back ribs, grilled chicken, and half-pound pulled pork sandwiches. Don't forget to add the potato salad, spicy baked beans, twice-baked potatoes, and delicious desserts. Find their winter hours and full menu at scottjamamas.com.
Hey, Minnesota, it's your favorite sexy liberal. Join me and my fellow cohorts in liberal justice weekdays from 8 to 11 on AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. The judge overseeing Dominion Voting Systems' defamation lawsuit against Fox says the parties have resolved their case, dismissing the jury just as the trial was to begin. That averts a prolonged trial in a case that exposed how Fox chased viewers by airing false claims about election fraud. A Missouri man's now in custody in the shooting of a black teen who mistakenly rang his doorbell.
Authorities in Kansas City say the 84-year-old man charged in last week's shooting of a black teen has surrendered. The sheriff's office says Andrew Lester turned himself in a day after being charged with first-degree assault and armed criminal action. Some civil rights leaders urged a hate crime charge, but the county's top prosecutor says the assault charge carries a longer sentence, up to life in prison. Police say that 16-year-old Ralph Jarl's parents asked him to pick up his twin brothers at a home. Jarl, an honor student, rang the doorbell at the wrong address and was shot by Lester in the forehead, then shot again in the right forearm. He's recovering. I'm Norman Hall.
4 people found fatally shot in a Maine home today, police linking the crime to gunfire that erupted later on an interstate highway, where 3 people were shot. 1 person is in custody. Overseas, fighting continues to rage in Sudan despite an internationally brokered truce. Tagreed Abdeen works in the capital.
This ridiculous battle that has civilians caught in the middle, and we have nothing to do with this. I have no sides when it comes to this because we've seen bloodshed from both sides.
The battle pits government forces against a paramilitary group led by a rival general. The Food and Drug Administration has approved an extra COVID-19 vaccine booster for anyone 65 and older if it's been 4 months since their last shot. The FDA says the original versions of the Pfizer and Moderna shots are now outdated. On Wall Street, stocks closed little changed amid mixed earnings and stronger than expected growth in China. This is AP News.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge. But it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE. 855-51-BIBLE.
Hi, I'm Scott Peterson with the Minnesota News Network, inviting you to join us this week for Minnesota Matters, a news, entertainment, and sports show covering everything that matters in the North Star State. Tune us in right here or at your convenience at minnesotanewsnetwork.com.
Listen to Minnesota Matters every weekend, Sunday mornings at 6:30 on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Located just north of 50th in France, the Great Wall Restaurant has provided a delicious taste of authentic Chinese cuisine since 1981. Specializing in Szechuan and Peking dishes, they offer one of the most extensive menus in the Twin Cities. Favorites include hot and sour soup, pan-fried dumplings, and mushu pork with homemade Chinese pancakes. Stop by their Edina location or call for takeout at 952-927-4439. See the full menu at greatwallrestaurant.us.
Next Chapter Booksellers is gearing up for an exciting spring with some big names on the event schedule. Over the next few weeks, they'll host Keith Ellison, Kat Howard, Nana Kwame Adjabrenya, Samantha Irby, Luis Orea, and more. Mark your calendars for these can't-miss events and find the author's schedule at nextchapterbooksellers.com. And don't forget, with graduations, holidays, and birthdays coming up, Next Chapter Booksellers is full of great gift ideas like books, puzzles, and games. That's Next Chapter Booksellers off Snelling and Grand in St. Paul.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 54. Tonight, cloudy with a low around 38. And Wednesday, rain with a high around 49. The snow is melted and your lawn is finally visible again. But is it the lush green lawn you want it to be? If not, Natural Lawn can help. They take an organic-based approach to lawn care that's safer for your family and your pets. Don't wait for summer. Visit naturallawn.com to make your lawn envy-worthy.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hour number 2 of the show on your Tuesday. Matt and Patrick and Brett Johnson jumping into studio with us, as you can see on the nice camera now. Hi, Brett.
Hello.
Two things I want to chat with you about. First of all, have you seen what's going on in McCurtain County, Oklahoma?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a place that I will be visiting for a while.
County in southeastern Oklahoma was exposed over the weekend for breaking the state's open meetings laws after a leaked recording revealed the local sheriff. Now, once again, the journalist was just trying to prove that these guys were meeting off the record, which they're not supposed to do. So he left in the community meeting room where they usually had their meetings an open recorder that would activate when someone would talk. And it did. It soon after this journalist got this, he realized very quickly this was more than just their meeting illegally, that there were some things that were said here, including the McCurtain County Sheriff, as well as I think 3 of the commissioners, and I think that the head of the jail in that county as well was in that room. Breaking state open meetings after leak recording revealed the local sheriff and several McCurtain County commissioners discussed hiring hitmen to murder local newspaper reporters. County officials also discussed lynching people and beating them up. As local KJHR reported Monday evening, McCurtain Gazette's publisher Bruce Willingham was told he and his family should flee town of their own safety. The publisher's son, Chris Willingman, had written at least 30 articles alleging corruption involving the McCurtain County Sheriff's Office over the last few years. So basically, I'm not quite sure what the deal is there, whether they're trying to say, still flee, but I can't imagine anyone would try anything at this point. There, as a matter of fact, I imagine all these people that were in this meeting, the last thing they want to have happen is any of these people get, just mysteriously disappear at this point. Some of the excerpts from the transcripts. District Commissioner 2, Mark Jennings. I know there are 2 big deep holes are here if you ever need them. Sheriff Kevin Clardy. I got an excavator. Jennings. Well, these are already pre-dug, but the thing is, Sheriff Investigator Elisa Manning. We actually told the truth. Jennings, I've known 2 or 3 hitmen. They're very quiet guys. Manning, yeah. So they were talking about this. In a statement posted to McCurtain County Sheriff's Office Facebook, the department painted themselves as the victims here. Said they are now investigating the reporters for recording the conversation in violation of communication crimes. The last 72 hours have been amongst the most difficult and disruptive in recent memory. Not nearly as much as the people that you send hitmen and try to lynch, I guess, but I mean, sure, fine. It's a very complex situation and we regret having to address. He basically goes out to say that it was illegal for them to record. The sheriff appears to be saying that because the paper wasn't present, it means there wasn't consent. The publisher left the recorder in the room. It's voice activated. It's unknown if the recorder was in full view of the officials. By the way, they were mentioning how they wish they could bring back lynching in this conversation. Not just kind of alluding to it. No, just out saying, I wish we could lynch people again. It was ugly. The Joey Sennett, Senat, a journalism professor at Oklahoma State, and said under Oklahoma law, the recording would be legal if it were obtained in a place where the officials being recorded did not have a reasonable expectation of privacy. They were in the county meeting room. Bruce Willingham, the longtime publisher of the McCurtain Gazette News, said the recording was made March 6th when he left a voice-activated recorder inside the room after the county commissioners' meeting because he suspected the group was continuing to conduct county business after the meeting, which it kind of sounds like they were, and had ended in violation of the state's Open Meeting Act. Willingham said he twice spoke with his attorneys to make sure he wasn't doing anything illegal. I honestly think that this is where the Republican Party is actually kind of going, if you want to know the truth. Frustration about not being able. I think they got close we are going to look at January 6th similarly to when the Confederates stormed Gettysburg and they got up to what's it called, the high water mark, where they tried to do Pickett's charge and they got up to the lines and then they got slaughtered at Gettysburg. But it was as close as they got, to the South of winning the Civil War. At that point, things turned, country saved. There you go. I think you look at January 6th, and that was the culmination of this attempt to get full power of this country. There are still people that feel as if that government should not be, democracy should be over, that we should not have voting. We should install Trump as president, and that's just that. And that they feel is that that's a good idea. And I think the frustration of failing, of getting as close as they were to their high water mark on January 6th and still failed, is leading to this frustration where they're lashing out irrationally. They're just trying to scream at the top of their lungs, or else they're basically plotting to get hitmen to take out journalists that they just don't like.
Yeah, that is dark down. And so I was shocked when I saw that story. Is that real? As you said, they weren't alluding to anything. They were directly making these kinds of threats. That is dark stuff.
By the way, just if you're putting out a defense on this, saying I didn't want to be recorded is not exactly saying I never said that. There is a difference between those two statements. I have got to admit, I'm a little concerned here, because I really do think there is, especially, I feel as if looking at Generation Z, I got 3 kids who are Generation Z. They are so tired of our crap, and they are active, and they're all circling the calendar when they turn 18 and they can vote. They all are. And I look at what seems to be this kind of coordinated effort to try to get shut down social media. They're trying to restrict younger voting now. They're trying to do these things because they can see the cab coming down the street with the doors wide open. They're not going to win a lot of elections coming up here. And I think the more that they are pushed further and further out of power from that high watermark, the more we're going to see more of this in Republican circles across the country. I'm convinced of that.
Yeah, I think you're right that there is going to be some frustration. You talked about young voters coming out. I mean, that always used to be a problem of turnout, and now that seems to no longer be a problem no matter the election, where young voters are pretty much showing up even in off-year elections like we saw with the Wisconsin Supreme Court.
Well, and they're showing up, and they're like, and I can't wait to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
As the baby boomers, who were the last generation to be that reliable as a voter goes, all left. And when you look at Generation Z, Scott Walker's outreach program aside, hey, you fellow youth, I'm Scott Walker. Putting aside their failed and pathetic kind of outreach here, the idea that you're just going to be able to say, hey, who wants a tax cut for a billionaire, and that's going to offset, oh, by the way, we already took away women's rights to choose over their own bodies. They just don't see the forest for the trees. And this is why, you're seeing some legislators in Idaho. They were trying to say you can't take a person across a border to get an abortion, that sort of thing. Missouri, they were saying if you're pregnant, you can't leave the state. What? There was that idea. I think that they're realizing that they don't really have a chance, and so they're just trying to. It's the deranged lover. If you're not going to love me the traditional way, I'm going to force you to love me. And that's where I think that they're kind of getting at right now.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where you're getting right now. Or if you're not going to agree with me, I'll make you agree with me.
Yeah. One thing, I know you and Cooligan are going to talk about this, the Peter Callahan thing.
Right.
All right. I've been very clear. I think the DFL shouldn't be banning journalists. Absolutely. We're all in agreement on that. Did you hear the tape of that?
I did, yeah.
I've been working in media for 30 years. I don't know a lot of news journalists who go up to someone and say, you're going to answer my questions. You're going to take more questions from me. I've really never heard that. I've been at city council meetings, county commissioner meetings. I have been part of DFL press conferences. I've been at Republican Party press conferences. I have been on political. I have never seen a journalist say that before in such an aggressive tone. Not like hey, could we have a few more questions? Because I still have some questions on how this is going to work. I don't know what Peter Callahan's day was going like, But when I hear that, I mean, I'm not, once again, you still don't ban the guy, but I think you do have to pull the guy over a little bit and say, okay, where's the decorum here? You know, this is still a work environment. You just don't go order a political party to take the questions until you're finished. That's not your job. And the reality is where's that kind of intensity when we have senators on the floor talking about the occult and, you know, drag queens are evil and stuff like this? Where is that intensity questioning those guys at that point? I mean, I think that there is a, you know, as much as I am bothered by the DFL banning him. I know you guys are going to talk about this with Cooligan a little bit. I still think to myself, you know, you can't do that. In the same sense as you guys, we all have experience with press boxes at sporting events. You can't cheer. You can't cheer in a press box. You're in a work environment. Now, granted, that's a private team in a private facility, not a political party at the state capitol. But you do still have some level of decorum. And I keep hearing a lot of people saying he was right. He was right. It's like, was he? Because I've been in media for 30 years. I've never heard a journalist scream at someone, "You're going to answer my questions." Have you?
I can't say I've been to many press conferences like that, so I can't speak from my experience. But yeah, I'm not sure. I can't say I've heard that very often of someone. Yeah,
the Steve Ducey at the White House press corps. That's not where that level of, well, you're going to answer my questions, or that one guy in the back who's always keeping why aren't you asking me more questions? You know, from I guess it's like Ugandan Catholic radio or whatever it is that he always gets upset because he doesn't get asked his questions.
Yeah, as you said, there's probably a better way you could handle that there, rather than saying you need to answer my questions right away.
Now, before we go any further, I have never noticed any new. I think Callahan writes a very neutral style. I have not noticed one way or the other. I also don't think he deserved to get banned. Period. I don't believe that. That being said, I kind of find it interesting. A lot of the media wants to ignore that because I never heard a lot. I don't want to say any names. But I know a lot of news media people. I don't know anyone who's ever talked to a political party like that saying, "You're going to answer our questions." Really? Thanks, Ducey. Because it is. It sounds like Steve Ducey, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it Steve Ducey? Who's the younger Ducey? Even more Ducey. Even more Ducey. So anyway, I'll let you get away from this conversation. I don't mind having it. But you got, of course, Cooligan was on vacation. He's back. What is the reformer covering right now?
Yeah, so today we're talking about the House tax bill. We'll also talk a little bit about what they've been doing with PFAS. And then, of course, as you talked about, we'll get Patrick's thoughts on what's been happening with that controversy with Peter Callahan over at MinnPost and the DFL press corps.
And I'll be the first to say, I'm the only person I hear talking about that element of it. Maybe I am the only one. But and I'm not making excuses for the DFL, but I'm not going to make excuses for Callahan. So I think you have to kind of look at the whole thing. So that's just me. Patrick Cooligan from the Minnesota Reformer right now, right here on AM 950.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Brett Johnson with you here on a Tuesday afternoon. Well, today we're joined by Patrick Cooligan, who is the editor-in-chief of the Minnesota Reformer. Make sure you go to minnesotareformer.com for the latest in Minnesota news and politics, as we'll be talking about the new tax bill that was passed in the Minnesota House, as well as a new bill that would provide a big investment into the environment for Minnesota in terms of protecting us from polluting chemicals. And then we will also talk about a dust-up that happened between the DFL press area and a reporter from MinnPost, and why a number of media organizations in town wrote a letter to the House DFL decrying the treatment of Callahan. So we'll get into all three of those articles today. Patrick, thanks so much for coming on the show today. Good to have you back.
Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. So House Democrats released their tax package yesterday, which proposes a modest one-time tax rebate check for a number of Minnesotans. It also exempts some Minnesotans from their taxes, from their income taxes on Social Security benefits. And we also could have a new tax bracket for the wealthiest Minnesotans. So I guess my first question for you, Patrick, is there any big surprises from this DFL tax budget right now? I suppose maybe a little bit of surprise on those rebate checks, but overall, what were your thoughts? Any big surprises from what we saw revealed for the House DFL?
You know, I kind of figured that the House DFL would offer the most progressive, egalitarian tax bill. out of the three pillars here, the Senate and Governor Tim Walz. The taxes chair, Aisha Gomez, is one of the most progressive House members. She's also extremely smart on policy and effective, and ultimately wants to make government work. But I'm not surprised at the philosophy underlying her tax package, which is really tilted toward working people, and its tax increase on the rich, which will provide quite a bit of new revenue. Very rich. It's only about 24,000 Minnesotans, and it's for a couple. It's more than $1 million. There's a new 10% and change tax bracket. They, out of a political imperative, they are. You won't have to pay a tax on your Social Security benefits if you make less than $100,000. I know that this is not a favored policy of progressive Democrats. Actually, I think there's fairly widespread consensus amongst Democrats and even some Republicans this is a bad policy. But they had a number of members who ran on this. It was Governor Walz was sort of backed into a corner on this by Republicans last year, and then you had Democrats running on it. So it just was there's a perception that they have to do something on Social Security benefits, and so Chair Gomez has tilted it away from the wealthiest Social Security benefits. Beneficiaries will not get this benefit, but it's still there, and it's big, it's expensive, and it gets more expensive every year. The rebates are much lower, certainly than Governor Walz proposed, and there's some other provisions in there, the child tax credit, and a pretty good, I think, addition to the local government aid that's going to help people's local property taxes. There's a property tax expansion of the property tax renters rebate. So, I mean, this is Aisha Gomez's philosophical agenda, although there's the political realities have also entered in to a degree. But it's kind of an opening gambit. It's the first bill we've seen. And so the Senate's going to be offering their own version. And there's another piece of this that's interesting. Usually what happens is cities and counties, local government, they come to the taxes committee and they say they want to increase their sales tax a little bit so that they can build a park or a community center or what have you. This year it seems to be a number are doing public safety and jails and that kind of thing. They have to get approval from the legislature, then they get approval from their voters for these sales tax increases. Chair Gomez has said, we're not doing that. She doesn't think that this is a good way to fund local government, and because it really discriminates against communities that don't really have a good retail base. Whereas it's great for Bloomington. Because they get people who don't even live in Bloomington that shop at the mall and they collect all this tax. So, but again, this is kind of an opening move here. I don't expect that to stand up. I think that on the Senate side, at least in committee, they've happily they're going to take all those local sales tax increases. But that's just one of a few differences I think we're going to find between the House and Senate version. I think the Senate version is going to be more moderate bill. It'll come out in the next few days.
Yeah, let's dive into some of those more areas in the Senate bill where you expect there could be some differences. Is there any chatter about where there could be some major differences between the Senate and the House? And I suppose we have to, of course, factor in Governor Tim Walz as well, because naturally you would think, well, they're all three DFLers, so they're just automatically going to agree on something and come together on a bill and quickly pass something. But even when you have unified control, things can be a lot more complicated than that. So are we hearing any chatter on where there might be some differences between the House and the Senate?
The Senate Republicans, Senate Democrats have a one vote majority, so they're a lot more anxious about appealing to swing voters and winning those swing districts. So I expect that they're going to offer a much more robust rebate, and I think Governor Walz will probably would want to go along with that. I think that if people were to, if a couple were to have a $550 rebate, it seems kind of a little minuscule compared to the $2,000 that Walz had talked about during the campaign, and I think it would make him look kind of politically weak if the rebate is that small. On the Social Security benefits tax cut, there's some key Senate Democrats who have favored a total exemption of your Social Security benefits from state tax. I don't know that they're going to go that far. They may propose that as kind of an opening gambit, but that would be another difference. They want to do the full thing, whereas Chair Gomez on the House side, they've capped it at folks who make $100,000. I think that local sales tax issue I mentioned, I think the Senate Democrats will agree to their all the local communities that want to increase their sales taxes. I think they'll want to give the voters in those communities the option to do that. So I expect there's going to be some differences. I think it's going to be a more a friendlier bill that's on the Senate side to, I guess, the ideological moderates and to business.
Speaking with Patrick Houlihan, who is the editor-in-chief of the Minnesota Reformer. Make sure you go to Minnesota Reformer for the latest in Minnesota news and politics. I want to talk about another piece of news from the state legislature, and this also comes from the DFL-controlled state house, as they are going to be making a $670 million investment into the environment and natural resources protection, as this largely has to do with these PFAS chemicals that were used by 3M back in the 1940s. They're kind of called like forever chemicals, and they've impacted a number of communities in the East Metro. And this bill will do a lot towards trying to, help people clean up from the damage that these chemicals have caused. And this bill could be a very significant investment in the environment. In fact, some DFLers are calling it the most significant investment in environmental and natural resource protection in years that we've seen in Minnesota. So, Patrick, I'm curious why this is such a significant investment we're seeing in the environment right now, and what specific issues does this bill address?
Yeah, the one that we were focused on was the PFAS that you mentioned. This is the class of chemicals that 3M invented, has been still manufactures, and we at the Reformer published a couple stories in December about how 3M did not do a good job paying attention to the hazardous nature of those chemicals and safely storing them and cleaning up after the manufacture, and what has led to contaminated water in these East Metro communities, and for that matter, really the entire world has now been apparently contaminated with these chemicals, which, as you say, they're called forever chemicals because they just don't break down in the environment. And so it all started here, unfortunately, and I think there's a number of legislators who want to see that as something that we need to be responsible for here in Minnesota. And so there's a number of measures in that bill to curb the use of this class of chemicals, except where absolutely necessary. It would give quite a bit of authority to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency to create rules. And there's been a furious pushback from the chemical lobby. 3M has kind of stayed in the background, but the trade associations and big-time lobbyists from Washington have been spending a lot of time and money here in Minnesota to try to beat back these bills. But past the House, still have the Senate to go. So a key moment as Minnesota grapples with its history of chemical contamination. The state attorney general in 2018 settled with 3M for $850 million. the money was supposed to provide clean water to those East Metro communities, but that didn't turn out to be the end of the story. And because I think we're just learning more about how dangerous the chemicals are and how widespread they are in the environment, land, air, water, soil, and human bodies and wildlife. So it does seem like a key moment. The other thing I want to mention is that a person who was, we spent a lot of time with, our reporter, Dina Winter, spent a lot of time with Amara Strand. She's suffered from really debilitating cancer, went to Tartan High School, and I mean, we certainly fear that she was drinking contaminated water, and that she, among many others at Tartan High School, were suffered from cancer and various illnesses that seem very suspicious. And indeed, there's studies showing higher rates of cancer in these communities. Amara died, unfortunately, late last week. And so her family and supporters and friends were there outside the House chamber, and Dina was there to capture that. So a pretty emotional moment for some folks at the Capitol yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys have done a great job reporting on that. So make sure you check out some of those pieces that they've written on what happened to her over the years over at MinnesotaReformer.com, at MinnesotaReformer.com. A final piece of news I'd like to talk to you about has to do with kind of a dust-up we had at the Capitol a couple of months ago with the DFL communications aide interacting with a member of MinnPost, Peter Callahan. So what happened was that a DFL communications aide accused Peter Callahan of being rude during a February 9th press conference, where after reporters were told they'd be allowed one more question at the press conference, Callahan responded by saying, "No, we can take several more questions. We're trying to understand this spill." After the news conference, House DFL spokesperson Matt Rosnowski threatened to call Callahan's editor, and Callahan responded with a profanity. After that, the House DFL responded by removing Callahan from its press email list, which alerts reporters to press conferences and statements. Callahan was then later added back to the press list. Now, the Minnesota Reformer was part of a number of media organizations that signed on to a coalition of media organizations that sent a letter to House DFL leadership decrying the treatment of Callahan. So, Patrick, I'm curious what your response is to this story of what we've been hearing of the treatment of Callahan back at that February 9th press conference.
Well, I want to just add to what you said, because it wasn't just that he was taken off the press list. They also wound up sending a letter to MinnPost saying they had serious concerns about that Callahan had violated the House's harassment and discrimination policy. And they also said they had alerted the Sergeant at Arms and Capitol Security. And so that was really our bigger concern, was that this idea that reporters are somehow bound by the House's HR policy, and that they would inform Capitol Security. It's kind of menacing, really, when you think about it. And so a number of media organizations, the Reformer included, sent a letter. There's a First Amendment lawyer who sent a letter to the House saying, I mean, look, here's what happened, and we have serious concerns about the way that you've treated Callahan and what it says about, what you think about the First Amendment. I think some of the background here goes back to the events surrounding Me Too, which were played out at the state capitol, where a couple of lawmakers were forced to resign because they'd been accused of sexual harassment. And I don't think there's any question that around that time, I was among the reporters talking to staff and lobbyists, and there was a widespread sense of impunity on the part of lawmakers that they could just treat people however they wanted, and that was unhealthy. It was an unhealthy workplace. And so the House, at current Speaker Melissa Hortman's urging, drafted this new HR policy. And I think creating a safe workplace is an important goal for people who are working in the public sphere. However, the state capitol is not like Target headquarters or something. It's not a workplace like that, because you're also employing the First Amendment and the rights that are conferred to us by the First Amendment of free speech and debate in the service of self-government. And so this idea that if I'm rude to you at a press conference, I can be accused of violating House HR policy regarding harassment, even if it doesn't meet the statutory definition of harassment. And now somehow, I'm not allowed into the House chamber because I was rude to someone at a press conference. I think we can, at least I see that as really problematic. And the latest is the speaker sent out a statement last night that I'm not going to call it an apology. That's not what it was, but it definitely was quite a bit more deferential than she had been last week. And so I think we are moving on here, but there is always, I think, going to be that tension of, the reality is that our job is oftentimes to ask rude questions and confrontational questions and adversarial questions. That's how it goes. And that might not work at a traditional workplace, but the state capitol is not a traditional workplace.
Well, we are just about out of time right now, as we have been speaking with Patrick Coolican, who is the editor-in-chief of the Minnesota Reformer. Make sure you find more about what they write over at minnesotareformer.com. That's minnesotareformer.com. Patrick, as always, thanks for the time today. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
Take a break and send things back over to Matt McNeil here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. Even though Auto Technical is a small nonprofit, we have helped more families with transportation than any organization in Minnesota. Since '94, we have reconditioned donated vehicles so they have a higher tax benefit. Call Richard at 612-919-5526, 612-919-5526, or autotech.org.
With spring here, fun is waiting for you at the Park Tavern. The Park Tavern is a great get-together location for family and friends. The food at the Park Tavern is outstanding with something for everyone. Pizza, wraps, sandwiches, burgers, salads, entrees, pasta, and wings. Take advantage of the best bowling lanes in Minnesota and enjoy the full menu while you bowl. The Park Tavern has all the big games on its many screens, and if you're looking for a private event, the Park Tavern offers private event packages for any size group. On Louisiana Avenue, north of Highway 7 in St. Louis Park, spring fun has sprung at the Park Tavern.
At Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, we have wood stoves that qualify for the new 30% income tax credit. A great opportunity to get an efficient stove and heat with renewable energy.
Right now, avoid supply chain delays, avoid the fall rush, avoid bad weather installation, and save money because we are now discounting the price on all chimney parts you need for installation for any of Woodland's new stoves and fireplaces.
We can help you with the stove and the chimney planning. Want to do it yourself? We will help you determine all the parts needed with our installation know-how. We have been installing wood stoves and fireplaces for over 45 years.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood, gas, and electric units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. Save money. Take advantage of the spring and summer chimney discounts when you buy any fireplace product right now at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces.
Hey, John, I heard you're turning 65 this year. Time to start comparing your Medicare insurance options.
Oh, I am so overwhelmed with all the different Medicare companies and plan designs. I don't even know where to begin.
Really? I worked with CompareYourMedicare.com, and they made my Medicare decision seem easy.
Huh, really? Well, what do they do?
CompareYourMedicare.com represents several of the top Medicare insurance companies in Minnesota. A local licensed agent will help you compare Medicare plans to determine which products best meet your needs and budget.
Wow, That sounds a lot easier than going to a bunch of different Medicare seminars on my own.
Way easier. Just go to compareyourmedicare.com and request a free, no obligation review. You can even schedule a virtual consultation from the comfort of your own home.
Hi, this is Jared with compareyourmedicare.com. We pride ourselves in serving our community's Medicare needs. Whether you're planning to retire early or work past age 65, we can guide you through how and when to apply for Medicare. Go to compareyourmedicare.com to schedule a consultation.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067 or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Next Chapter Booksellers is not just a bookstore, but a hub for book lovers too. The store off Snelling and Grand has created a space where readers can come together for lively discussions in a variety of book clubs. One is the Sci-Fi Fantasy Club that explores forgotten classics, genre-bending titles, and small press stunners. While the Manga Club is a place to connect with other weebs, dweebs, and otaku, there is sure to be a club that meets your taste at Next Chapter Booksellers. Learn more about all the book clubs at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
Think your company's safe? Your staff is working from home, right? As I speak, cyber criminals are mounting attacks across the country. Remember, when we're weakest, cyber criminals attack. Hi, Mark Sommerfeld from Rymark. The Rymark team is guiding our clients through these difficult times. In fact, demand has been so high, we created an easy-to-follow guide. It's yours free. Download our 5 steps to securely work from home now at rymarkit.com or call 651-328-8900 for a no-cost how-to discussion.
Hey, Twin Cities, Latunji with Latunji's Palette Bakery and Cafe, located at 1400 Park Avenue South in the Elliott Park community. We invite you to discover the best peach cobbler, coffee, soups, salads, and sandwiches in the Twin Cities. And also, you can find my delectable treats at North Market Grocery Store, Annex Farmers Market, Plant-Based Pop-Up, Bobby and Steve's, Handsome Hog, and our website, latunjispalette.com. That's latunjispalette.com.
Many car dealers will quote safety stats, but firsthand experience really tells the story. When I bought my 2017 Sienna from Rudy Luther Toyota, the service manager told me it was one of their safest vehicles ever made. Then I saw it for myself. A car hit me at 35 miles per hour, and the Sienna saved me. Its design absorbed the collision, and although it took a wallop, I walked away, and I now have a 2022 Sienna. When it comes to safety, I personally vouch for Toyotas. Be safe and get one today at Rudy Luther Toyota, 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Rain and storms expected tonight with a low of 38, then more rain and storms on Wednesday with a high of 49. Spring has arrived, and it's time to take a good look at your lawn. If there are bare spots or brown patches, Natura Lawn can help. For over 30 years, Natura Lawn has taken an environmentally friendly approach to lawn care. Beat the summer rush and visit naturalawn.com.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. So Fox News settles the defamation suit. I mean, it really was. This is their last second Hail Mary. $787.5 million that Fox News has to pay out to them. And I'm going to just give you the bad news here because this is about 6 minutes ago. Under the terms of the settlement, Fox News will not have to apologize or admit to spreading false claims on network programming, according to a person familiar with the details of the agreement. I do not know, and this is going to be my first real criticism of Dominion. They basically destroyed your company. They went out there with intent to destroy your company. At the very least, you should expect them to say on the air, on the shows where they ran these lies, by the way, we have a correction we need to make. And the fact, I get it, there's a lot of money. And trust me, I know Fox News was of the mindset of we cannot admit we were wrong. That because at the end of the day, I mean, and you can sit there and say, well, they paid $787 million to not have to admit they're wrong. But the reality is I'm kind of perplexed by Dominion. I mean, I guess this really was just a money grab because it wasn't about the integrity of the company, because considering the things that Fox News said about Dominion, I mean, the outrageous lies. At the very least, you would expect that there would be some level of apology on the shows where those lies were made. Now, Dobbs is gone, but Bartiromo is there. I think Tucker Carlson said some things. Hannity said some things. And, you know, I'm with you. I was hoping there'd be at least an apology, but apparently not. Which gets me to that point where, do you remember when they had the guy on who said in Paris there were no-go zones, Muslim no-go zones for non-Muslims, which was a complete made-up lie? Do you remember how Fox News frantically kept apologizing? Well, in that case, they could have been taken off the air in France and removed from the cable lineup, so they basically had to apologize there. I think that this is, yeah, I'm more than a little bothered by the fact that there's not going to be any level of self-acknowledgement or self-apology. Dominion may have settled the suit, but its legal pursuits are far from over. The company still has a defamation suit related to allegations of election fraud pending against Fox competitors Newsmax and OAN, as well as against the MyPillow chief Mike Lindell, Overstock.com founder Patrick Byrne, and against Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell, both former lawyers of Donald Trump. And they are going to, that's going to be difficult for them. Smartmatic is the next one. That's a $2.7 billion defamation lawsuit. Once again, that has been ruled that can move forward. They also have a lawsuit with Abby Grossberg, who is a Fox News producer. The staggering $787.5 million settlement is one of the largest defamation settlements ever. In 2017, we put this in perspective. In 2017, ABC News paid out its at least $177 million in a settlement over its broadcast to report on so-called pink slime, the processed beef product used as a low-cost filler. Delicious. So, yeah, and once again, I know a lot of people are going to be are going to be upset, but the only thing you can use to get yourself warm is basically $787.5 million that Fox News agreed to pay Dominion Voting Systems. Is that's the case. What I'll say is this, and it does sound like Fox News dead sincerely give you an apology. My worst Australian accent ever. To Dominion in private. I mean, it sounds like, because Dominion's lawyers said that they did apologize. If I'm Smartmatic, I am going to watch how Dominion is perceived in the media, because if Dominion is perceived as basically still, because once again, it's they've let this lie, this perpetuated lie, go run amok amongst their followers, and so they're. If you ever watch Jordan Klepper, whenever he goes on the Daily Show out to one of these rallies, it's clear the Chinese, airdropped all those voting machines in there with bamboo, and it's clear that it's a lie. If Dominion's reputation doesn't get improved, if I'm Smartmatic, I'm saying, okay, then my lesson learned here. I'm going to basically demand that all these networks air apologies on this. So 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. One of the other things I wanted to mention today was, I'm doing a lot of national stuff today because we had the breaking news on the Fox story. I was going to mention Kevin McCarthy. It was disturbing to watch him go out to Wall Street and basically said, once again, because of the debt ceiling. And what's interesting is, bills originate in the U.S. House. They go to the Senate. The Senate can pass a bill, but there's processes that have to go through here. The Republicans are trying to make it seem like Joe Biden has to put forward a budget that they approve of before they can vote. And that's not how it works. They're going to have to vote. The House has to vote on their own bill with the debt ceiling. McCarthy yesterday basically tried to blame Biden, but the reality is there's no guarantee he's going to get a bill through his own House. And once again, the Republicans in the House, U.S. House of Representatives, have not put forward their final cutting bill, because the only way that they're going to get close to what they want to do is that they have to cut every social safety net program down to its bone to which they won't even get that through the Republican caucus, the majority. The Republican majority won't even vote for that. The Senate sure won't vote for that, and Joe Biden will veto it, and that's the end of that. House Speaker McCarthy faces a steep challenge in cobbling together the 218 votes he needs to pass the proposed debt ceiling increase. Top Republicans say they want a bill on the floor by next week, but members across the GOP conference have a range of reservations about the proposal that's still incomplete. Nancy Mace, the Republican from South Carolina, and by the way, I was just down in Nancy Mace's district. She's on the, in one of the more liberal districts in the South. I mean, it really is. It's a district that the Democrats have won, so she can't be this far-right person and still win down there. She said it's probably not enough to get her on board to turn around in a week. That's pretty short order. This is the single biggest point of leverage that will exist in these 2 years, said another Republican lawmaker. The GOP leadership unveiled the proposal to raise the debt ceiling by 2024 while slashing spending, but a half dozen House Republicans, more than enough to sink the bill, said they still not sold. Coming out of the closed-door GOP conference meeting where the proposal was laid out, Rules Committee Chair Tom Cole told reporters, I think we'll be moving stuff probably next week. I think that they should go further. I'm in favor of very aggressive cuts, said right-winger Representative Ann Paulina Luna, the Republican of Florida. Representative Andy Biggs, a former chair of the right-wing Freedom Caucus, said McCarthy's proposal to keep non-discretionary, non-defense at 2022 levels is a long ways away from his demand to bring it down to pre-pandemic levels. I'm not on the table, and I get McCarthy's pissed that I ran against him, so I don't get invited to any of these deals, said Biggs, but I think it's unfortunate he doesn't want to hear from everybody. Representative Mark Molinaro, a Biden district moderate who raised concerns about proposed welfare work requirements, told Axios, I think we're making progress, but we still are taking a look at it. Others are simply uncomfortable with the whole enterprise. So on one side, you have the moderate Republicans saying, no, we're not going to be for massive cuts to social safety net programs. Sure, some trimming, but not massive ones. And then you have the Republicans on the far right who are saying, unless this is an absolutely draconian bill that basically gets rid of every social safety net program that was created since the 1880s, we're not on board. Others are simply uncomfortable with the whole enterprise. We didn't run for Congress to raise the debt ceiling, so it's not something I'm excited about, said Representative Eric Burleson, a Republican of Missouri. Once again, they could solve a good portion of this problem by just repealing the Trump-era quote-unquote tax cuts, which weren't tax cuts, which were basically just borrowing money from China to give to wealthy people and making the middle and lower class pay that back. If they just rescinded that, that would go a long way to fixing the deficit problem. But funny story, they don't want to do that. But hey, a hungry kid gets an apple, smack it out of their hand and say, you don't deserve it, because they care about kids. I really want to see some real restraints and fiscal cuts, not just promises, said Burleson. Representative Tim Burchett, Republican from Tennessee, has raised similar hesitations about raising the debt limit on principle. That puts McCarthy far from where he needs to be on the floor of vote and math, but even his detractors say it's possible they could come together. Okay, really? All right, you're going to, you've got a substantial, about 20 or so moderate Republicans who do not want to gut this stuff. You have 20 or so far-right Republicans who want to kill every social program that's on the books. You're saying those two groups are going to come together? I think what's going to happen is 20 seconds before the debt failure, McCarthy is going to come screaming out after just doing a straight raise the debt ceiling bill, knowing that he's got enough votes to pass it, screaming, I've got the bill! I've got the bill! That's what I think is going to happen. Because I can tell you right now, if the U.S. defaults on their debt, it's going to be catastrophic across the board. Not just this economy, but worldwide economy. A self-induced depression caused because the Republicans just didn't want to undo the Trump-era tax cut they put into place. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. More on this when I come back, and I'll give you an update on the Fox News trial if there's any more new ones. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Hey, it's Tom. Solar panels are a great asset to your home and they increase your property value. Plus, they're the only home improvement project that pays for itself by saving you money on your utility costs. With spring being the season of home renovations, it's a great time to learn more about the benefits of going solar so you can finally break free from your monthly utility bill. Attend a free webinar from All Energy Solar to learn more. These webinars will show you why going solar is a powerful investment for your home and tell you about local and federal incentive programs, including the 30% federal tax credit. These free virtual events are hosted by All Energy Solar experts who are ready to answer all your questions about solar, no matter what type of property you have. If you're someone who's thought about going solar but are unsure, then these webinars are perfect for you. Visit allenergysolar.com/webinar to register and start your solar journey. That's allenergysolar.com/webinar.
I love my Toyota vehicles, so when I have to get service done, there's only one place I go. Rudy Luther Toyota. They know Toyotas inside and out. It starts with them checking your alignment and tire treads with the Hunter Quick Check Drive Inspection Service. Oil changes, tires, batteries, wipers, no matter what you need done, they can help you with reliable Toyota parts and the best service team in Minnesota. Check their website, rudyluthertoyota.com, for service and parts specials just for your Toyota vehicles. Get your Toyota serviced at Rudy Luther Toyota, 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. April is National Pet Month, and if you have furry, fluffy friends, you know they're not always careful about where they do their business. Plus, warmer weather is on the way, and that means they will be shedding that winter coat all over the carpets. But whether you're a pet owner or not, make sure to take advantage of Zero Res Showering April savings on you before the May flowers and the May Pet Fluff Showering on your carpets not far behind. Get 3 rooms Zero Resified from the Twin Cities #1 carpet cleaner starting at just $129, and take $75 off your air duct cleaning this month to take care of pet dander and last year's pollen and other irritants before this year's flowers bloom. That's 3 rooms of the best clean you can buy for $129 and $75 off your air duct cleaning. Call 952-ZERO-RES or book your appointment at ZeroResMinnesota.com today. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
Crooner's Supper Club invites you to enjoy drinks, a delicious dinner, and live music from both big-name local and national artists in a wide array of styles. Before or after your show, check out the new Maggie's Lounge, a perfect spot to visit with friends. It's open Wednesdays through Sundays beginning at 4:30 with cocktails and light fare. And you don't need a ticket to enjoy the great atmosphere of Maggie's. Crooner's Supper Club off Moore Lake and Highway 65. A little piece of old school nightlife in the 21st century.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I really think with this debt ceiling increase, here's the problem that McCarthy has. He's going to have to put a bill out for voting. And I think the problem is their hope is going to be that they can get the moderates on board with pretty draconian cuts. Because I can tell you right now, the extremists in the party are not going to be on board with minimal cuts. They want harsh cuts. And so the question is going to be, can he get enough moderates, which I bet you they're going to. But the problem is that there's going to be at least 4 or 5 of those moderates that say, I'm done with this. I'm not going to run for office again. And they're going to walk away from the party because they know they'll have, if they vote for this bill, which they're going to be pressured to do, there's no chance in the world they'll be able to get their seat again. So that's kind of where I think it is. I wouldn't be surprised if they basically just say, okay, we're going to just do if it doesn't look like they're going to get the bill passed, they'll just say, Joe Biden just wants a straight debt ceiling vote. Let's vote on it. It doesn't pass. And they say, well, we're done. And not ever show the light of day the bill that they're willing to put forward, because there's no way in the world that bill doesn't come back and haunt them next election cycle. Absolutely it would. Once again, Fox News, no new updates. We should be careful here. Maybe I do have a new one. No new updates on the story, but once again, Fox News settles for $787 million in the defamation lawsuit with Dominion frantically trying to get off the stage. Once again, the sad part is Fox News will not have to apologize or admit to spreading false claims on the network programming, according to a person familiar with details of the agreement, which, once again, that's what everyone was wanting was, hey, you got caught lying. You have to admit you're wrong. And Dominion took the money over, basically trying to get their reputation redeemed. we'll have to see what happens there. Native Roots Radio comes up in the 6th. Have a good one. We're back tomorrow. Till then, see you.
Hey, Cudahy, this is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.